Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to Cobra Vids. Today we're going to be operating. I know what you're thinking. Yes, I am qualified to operate. I got my degree at BSU here in Arizona. And today we're going to be operating on a Kawasaki Z400. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing a blood transfusion. I know it's a messy job, but somebody's got to do it. She's got 800 miles on her, and it's time to change those fluids and do a transfusion. Today's going to be a very important day. We got to follow all of our safety precautions. I've already got our surgical draping on the garage floor. We have our surgical masks. We have our surgical gloves in order to keep everybody nice and safe. We've got eye protection to keep the life fluids from splashing in my face when I start to do the transfusion. Alright guys, we're all protected. We got our gloves, mask, eye protection. We got our surgical draping on the garage floor. We're ready to bring in the patient. Okay guys, first of all, we're going to do a routine checkup on the patient. We've got to make sure that its battery is in good health. We need to make sure the air cleaner is not plugged up by any debris that may have been sucked in. And we've got to check the overall hydration. We've got to check the fluid levels in the radiator. So stay with us guys. Here we go. First of all, right under this side of the bike is a keyhole. That keyhole opens up the back seat here. We'll go ahead and pop this off. You gotta lift up slightly and out, and the back seat will come off. It's not much of a back seat if you ask me. Set up a little table over here to... Guys, there's just a very little storage compartment in here. I'll bring you over here and show you. The little flap here to open up the storage compartment. That's not a very big storage compartment. I don't even see any room in there to really stick anything. But maybe I can find a container to stick my registration and everything in. But that's pretty much the only storage compartment, which is kind of crappy. But it is a naked bike, so we can't really expect too much. To uncover the battery, we're going to have to pull the front seat off, which this little cable right here, you give this a pull, and then the seat will come out. I can't do that holding the camera, so we'll place the camera down here. I'll show you at a distance here. Whoa, whoa, go crazy, guys. All right, we're opening her up. So if you're squeamish, please look away. Oh man, look at that. Look at that. All right guys, that's the front seat. Comes off just like that. Set it over here on our table. Now, one thing I was thinking about is, did this bike come with a toolkit? And I didn't see it in the storage compartment where I would think it would be, but it looks like there is a toolkit. There's a rubber band-like thing right here that I would imagine you have to pop off, just like that. Let me bring the camera over here. Right here, there's a rubber band-like thing that clips in there and clips over here, and you just gotta pop those out of there, and then the toolkit comes out. let's see together what comes in the toolkit. All right, we've got a couple Allen wrenches. You know what, let's, okay. We've got a couple Allen wrenches. We've got a 12 and a 10 millimeter wrench. We've got a 14 and a 17 wrench. We've got a cute little screwdriver here. We've got this boxed in 24, probably for axle nut, I would imagine. We've even got a pair of little pliers. Ain't that cute? We've got some pliers. What else do we got in here? We've got a little extension arm to give us a little more leverage when we're using the tools. Here too. I would imagine this would be for the shock to stiffen it up. I'm not sure though. And that's it. That's all the tools that come in this toolkit here, which is pretty nice because this looks like more tools than my Vulcan has. Right down here is the battery. It looks to me like they've got a stock. They got a stock accessory plug here, which will come in handy when I start adding accessories to this. And they've already got it installed. They've got a fuse in here, a 7.5 amp fuse, which is plenty for little objects that you want to add to these bikes. All right, guys, to check the voltage of your battery, simply red goes to positive, black goes to negative, and when you're testing your battery, a standing voltage should be really close to 13. I'm at 12.93, which is perfect. Not a problem there. In order to check the water, you have to set the bike upright, and that level right there, you can see it sloshing around there. That level is right in the middle of the full and low mark, which is perfect. And that is at the front of the bike. Right there like that. That is how you check the water level. Okay, to check the tire pressure, these tires should run right about 35 pounds PSI, of course. Nope. It's right about 35 now. All right, so that tire is 35, which is right on where it needs to go. Go ahead and put the valve stem cap back on. Okay. Move the valve stem cap off of here. Okay, and we're 35 pounds. Okay guys, I apologize for the change in video quality. I had to switch to my cell phone in order to continue on. But anyway, on with the health checkup of the Kawasaki. The rear tire is at 35 pounds, which is perfect. Right here is the rear brake reservoir, brake fluid reservoir, because this bike has hydraulic brakes front and rear. Most bikes, or most older bikes, will have a cable brake shoe, and this one has both wheels are anti-lock brake hydraulic pads. And here's the fluid, and of course there's a full and a low level. And since my bike is angled down, it will only get higher, so it will go into the full area when I tip it up like this. Okay, right there, nice and full, perfect. And the front one is at the front of the bike, so we'll hold it up. And as you can see, it is full as well. Okay. So far, we have checked the hydration, the hydraulic fluids, we've checked the electrical health of the patient, and now it's time to do the transfusion. This is indeed the scariest part of any operation. All right, here is the fill level. There's a lower and there's an upper level. And when the bike is sitting level, it doesn't have to be perfectly level, but just sitting up, the oil should be right in the middle, right there, preferably. And that's right about upright. Could be a little low, but still within those lines. Prior to starting the transfusion, we're going to need to have a... All right, before we get started with the transfusion, I need to get an EKG system set up so that we can monitor the vitals of the patient, so that we can see any issues that it might have during this transfusion. Okay, it looks like our vital systems are within specifications, and now we'll go ahead and start the transfusion. Okay, we've got our defibrillator here just in case we experience any issues. Okay, first of all, we need to start draining the fluids. The draining plug will be right here. That's the lowest point of the oil pan reservoir, however you want to say it. And we'll go ahead and loosen that up with the pan under it. Okay, since I do not like to use open end wrenches to undo bolts, I'm going to go ahead and get one of my other wrenches to fit that. It looks like a 17. Okay, here we go. Yep, 17. All right, so we'll go ahead and remove this bolt. That was pretty easily done. And so it'll start coming out. There's like 2.5 quarts of oil in this bike here. The oil does not look bad at all. Of course, we're at 800 miles in the break-in, so they require a full engine service and inspection. That's what we've been doing this video. And uh-oh, what's that? Clear! All right, guys, that was a close one. We almost lost her. Seems like the rhythm is good. Let's check the monitor. Good, we have good steady rate. Back to the transfusion. That was a close one, guys. I was worried there for a second. After our emergency, now we can get back to business. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and let this drip here. And then we're gonna work on getting the oil filter off. There are designated wrenches for these, but I found that just using a large set of pliers works just as fine. When you install your new one, you just twist it in until it makes contact and then turn it another turn, so you don't have to worry about tightening it with the wrench, but you do damage it. All right, so here's something that I like. You see how that oil is running out of the base of the oil filter? Well, that's something on my Vulcan that I noticed is it runs down the front of the engine, down on the starter and everything, and I do not like that. So having it like that is much better because it doesn't get your engine all dirty. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just leave this screwed in a couple turns until I get back from the parts store. Now I know what I need. That's a standard Kawasaki filter there. Probably going to get a high flow like we do for the Vulcan. That seems to be what they hand me when I go buy one. So, alrighty, the oil is still draining out. And that's the neat thing about it draining out on this side, because we don't have to worry about it any staying in there, because as it's draining from the engine, it's coming right out of that hole as it's tilted over. My Vulcan, I actually have to set it upright in order for the rest of the oil to drain out, which is it is a drag. Okay, So we're going to go ahead and put the operation on hold. Transfusion in progress. And now we're going to get the oil filter on first. And this is the same exact filter, same exact part number and everything that my Kawasaki Vulcan uses. This is a HF303, which is really nice because it keeps everything. And what that does is that keeps parts cheaper, because if you have a bunch of different makes and models of every single part for every other bike, then you have to have a factory set up to make that part. So it increases the price of these things. But if you have one that fits all, then you only have to have one factory that makes the parts for everything. So it makes things a lot easier. Okay, gonna wipe down the area, get all the extra oil off of it. Now we're going to screw the new filter on. Okay, it made contact. Now we'll give it another half to a full turn until it feels right. And these filters, O-ring seal comes pre-lubed, so you don't have to add any lubrication like you do most other seals. Now we're going to fill up the engine with oil. This bike takes approximately 2.5 quarts of oil. I almost said gallons. Wouldn't that be crazy to put 2.5 gallons of oil in this engine? I think there might be a small problem with that. Talk about putting the bike in cardiac arrest. Alright, so we got our filter up top here, and we're going to pour in about, I don't know, a quart, maybe 1.5 quarts, and then we'll tip it upright and see how it looks. You see a little bit coming in the hole right there. Okay, that's right about 1/2 quart. Okay, and that's 1 quart. Just for shits and giggles, we'll pull it over to the side, and look at that. Okay, that is showing full, but I know that it's not because it takes about 2 quarts of oil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the cap back on, and I'm going to start up the bike, let it run until it pumps oil into the engine, then we'll add a little bit more until it's full. Alright, as you can see now, after I ran it a little bit, you can see that there is no more oil in that hole there. We'll tilt it back over, and we'll pour another 1/2 quart in there. Okay, we got about another 1/2 quart. Tilt it upright, check the level. Level seems to be within specifications, so we'll put the cap on, run it a little bit more, let it pump up a little bit more, and then we'll shut it off, let it set for a few minutes. Okay, now we'll go ahead and wait just a little bit, let the oil settle down for the most part, and then we'll check it again. While we're waiting for that, we can do our last inspection. This is a sealed chain, which means it has either O-rings or washers that seal the grease into the pins of the chain. And checking the chain is very simple. You just check the play. You see how much play we have in there? That's a little bit too much. The This chain is now broken in, so we're going to have to tighten this chain up a little bit to make sure that we're not too loose. Okay, to tighten the chain, all we have to do is we have to undo the cotter pin, loosen up the nut or the bolt, the axle bolt, and then we got to turn these to bring the wheel back a hair. This won't take much at all. First of all, we got to break the back one. Now you need to get a 13 to do the tightening. Okay, the other one's loose. And now we just got to take the cotter pin out. Cut that part out. Okay, so now we'll go on the other side, loosen up this axle nut. Now we'll take a 13 and we'll tighten up this inner nut to bring it in or bring the tire back just a little bit. This will be a 14. I was wrong on that one, guys. Okay. When you're tightening the chain, always go back and forth. I've used my caliper here to get a more accurate reading. Okay, now using the caliper to measure where the bracket is in comparison to the next line, I've got it dead on now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tighten up this nut here. Alright guys, to tighten this nut up, you're only going to go 72 foot-pounds. Don't trust what people say on the internet, because I got a reading of 130 foot-pounds, which is like almost double what it's supposed to be. Don't trust everything you read on the internet, guys. We can snug it up just a hair more just to get that pin in there cleanly. Okay, we'll probably change this cotter pin next time we do a chain tightening. And we got about 3/4 inch slack in the chain now. So now what we'll do is we will tighten up these. We'll snug up the inner one, just so that nothing moves. Now we'll recheck my measurements. .186. Snug that one up so this one don't back out. Tighten up the other side. Okay, there we go, guys. Chain is done. Now the only thing to do is to recheck the oil level here in the window to make sure that we have enough oil in there. It's been sitting for about half an hour, and we look like we're a little bit full. Well, yeah, it looks like we're a little bit full. So it looks like I'm gonna have to drain a tiny bit out of here. Okay, so we drained a little bit out. Let's see where we're at on our line now. Okay, right there is level, and it looks like we're right in the middle there. So we're all good. On this particular bike, it has 2 tripometers. Here is the tripometer A. Here's tripometer B. That's how many miles is on the bike, 775. And I'm going to go ahead and reset that one. When this hits 3,000, I'll know it's time for an oil change. There's no guesswork. That's the odometer. That's the only mileage that is on this bike right now. So go back to trip A. And that's how I will monitor my next oil change. All right, guys. Well, it's time to pull off the gloves, the mask, because the transfusion is done on the Kawasaki Z400. It was touch and go there for a few minutes, guys, but I think she came out okay. We checked all the fluids, we checked the chain, and we changed the oil and the filter. She's good for another 3,000 miles or so, and I'm looking forward to putting every one of those miles on. So that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Please subscribe, like, and ring the bell so that you'll be notified when my next video comes out. Thanks for watching, guys. Oh shit.